Hello, hello. This is Kristina, business and digital marketing coach, and today is a new episode of KSM Podcast Growing Business Online with Kristina. And I am super excited, and I have my special guest speaker, Misty Henkel. Misty, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kristina. This is very exciting to be here today.
Thank you so much for having you today, and tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
Okay, so I'm a sales trainer. I live in Queensland, Australia. I'm a sales trainer. I run classes online ever since COVID, gave us online. So I get to teach all over the world. It's online. I run group sales classes. I do coaching sessions, and I have some sales books as well. And I've attracted the name as a low-cost sales trainer. So basically, sales training, when I started as a salesman, I didn't have sales training available to me. So back when I was 18 years old, I'm 46 now. So back when I was 18 years old, I worked in hospitality, then I worked in retail, and sales training wasn't available. So I had to go out and work out how to do it myself. So on-the-job training, go get some sales books, read up on it, see if I could work out how to do what was in the book at work and practice things like that. Then, of course, about 10 or 12 years later, the internet was more available for me, because we're now looking at, about 2010. The internet was more available for me. I could Google for sales training, but it was at such a high price that even me as a salesman earning commission, so earning extra money, I couldn't afford it. And so then moving forward to now, sales training is still really high priced. The idea being, but what you achieve on the other side, there has to be a way up. If I charge you a lot, then you have to earn even more than that. And I understand it, but then there's still a gap of people, the everyday people, that it completely locked out of that sort of training, because the price is too high. It doesn't make sense, like, why spend $10,000 to learn how to sell if you're an author selling a book for $30? That makes no sense. So there's a huge gap of people that are selling things at sort of lower prices that massive sales training fees don't cover for like the end result of what they're planning on selling. So with network marketing, like there's sales programs inside of network marketing. You can do extra stuff yourself, but usually the sales training is so incredibly high that, it doesn't weigh up lifestyle to sales to, money back or anything like that. So I teach sales. I teach sales to everybody else that sales trainers has locked everybody out of, which is really fun, which means I get the everyday people, the people who are just like me, the moms, the dads, the entrepreneurs, the startups. And I run sales classes. It's approximately, it's $25 a coaching session. It's $30 a book. So basically I do all sales training for the price of a book. That's how I learnt. So that's how I teach. And you come in, you do a lesson, you leave, you get the information, you leave, you get to practice. You can ask more questions if you want to. It's, I make life easy for those who have been locked out traditionally from the help.
Yes, Misty, this is amazing. You do some amazing job, and tell us a little bit, how did you start it, and what was your background? Maybe you told us that you're from Queensland. I didn't ask you, but you told us. And tell us a little bit about your background and what were your challenges to start? What triggered you to start and be sales?
I've always been in love with money. I mean, but I think every child is, right? You're born, you see something shiny on the ground, it's a coin, you get told that thing buys you chocolate and toys. And so I've always been in love with it and like the idea of, how can I earn it? No, how can I get it? How can I earn it? And so when I was 5, I learned to knit. When I was 7, I learned to crochet. And I used to knit babies' clothes. My great grandmother would sell them for me at the club when she'd go out to ladies' lunches, and I'd make doilies and tablecloths for my mum's friends, and they would pay me, like $1 an hour to do that. 50 hours later, I've earned $50, but I mean, 50 hours for a child. And I timed it by the minute, right? So 50 hours for a child at the age of, 8, while that's a huge amount of money, it was probably about 6 months worth of work as well, so it's but it was a huge amount of money, and I was going to sit there and do it anyway. So then growing up, went into jobs where I could really think about how could I earn more. I know I get paid, but how could I earn more, which is what put me into being a barmaid and working hospitality. In America, like, you get paid tips, right, for serving food and drink. You don't in Australia, but I liked the idea, and I thought, well, if I get really good at that, I could go work in America and end up with tips. So I could get paid, and I could get paid extra. How cool is that? And so then went into sales jobs. So from hospitality, went into sales jobs. So furniture, Apple, computers, things that gave me a pay. So in Australia, you get paid to come to work. But then as a salesman, you can get paid commission if you sell above what it is that that you're expected to sell. And so I was always looking into that. I started off in hospitality and in retail was add-on sales. Sell as much as you can to the person who walks in the door, because they may not come back again. You got one chance. It's while they're there. Later, when I turned 35, 36, I discovered business networking. And the first networking event I went to, I've gone in and gone, oh my God, people are really interested in hearing what it is that I do. I've never been in a room where people are so interested in finding out, what is it that you do for a living? What do you sell? How do you do that? And so I looked at it to see for what it really is. It's the secret sauce to all selling. And the secret to selling isn't selling as much as you can to the person who walked in the door. It's about how to get them to walk in the door. Because if you can get them to walk in once, then you don't need to sell everything the first time, because you just have to get them back in and back in and back in, so that you can sell them everything, but over time. And so you keep them for a really long period of time. And the longer you keep them, the more they tell their friends, and then they can come in as well. So it's kind of my background, how that happened. Back in 2002, where I was saying, like, I've never had formal sales training. In 2002, I wanted to be a travel agent, and I got sent to Melbourne. I was living in a small country town, and I got sent to Melbourne to do a course on how to book airplane tickets. So when somebody came in and said, I want to fly to Sydney, or I want to fly to Perth, or I want to fly to America or Europe, then I get sent to do a course on how to book plane tickets, right, for customers. And while I was there, I had to go to a seminar where the guy got up to talk about sales, and everything he said, I don't know who he was. I remember him being very tall. I don't know who he was, but I remember pretty much his entire talk. And I was so inspired by what he was saying. And I believed everything he was saying, all the sales stuff he was saying. I believed it all. And I left going, I want to be that guy. I don't actually want to be a travel agent. I want to travel the world and teach people about sales. And so that's how I went from salesman and then over time into sales trainer. It was because I was always looking at, well, how do I simplify it to get somebody that I work with to sell something as well? And different jobs that I've had, like when I was in furniture sales, I used to get sent to other stores. I thought it was because someone was on holidays and they needed someone to fill in. But when I'd get there, it'd turn out to be, teach that person to sell because we're about to sack them. Oh, righto, no problems. But I teach people to sell without them knowing I'm teaching them to sell. Because what I know about sales is this. Most of the world suffers from sales anxiety. Sales anxiety is, I don't want to be seen as a salesman. I don't want to be seen as a used car salesman. I don't want to push someone into doing something. I don't know how much money they have. I feel anxious about talking to them about spending their money. I don't want to push people to do things they don't want to do. So since I know that the majority of salesmen out there have sales anxiety, I figure if I tell you I'm there to teach you to sell, you're not going to do it. So I just won't tell you. And then I have to teach them without them ever knowing. They come out going, oh my God, you know what I did today? Yes, I do. So I look for all these subtle little ways to do it, and the guy that I heard that inspired me, I remember going home and saying to my mum, oh my God, Mum, it was so amazing. This is what he was saying. And like, A lot of what he was saying was, it doesn't matter how much you charge. It only matters how you treat a person. People will pay more money to be looked after by a nice, helpful person. They're more interested in being looked after by a nice, helpful person than they are in getting a discount. And I remember saying this to my mum, and my mum said, no, I'd rather just pay the least amount of money and I don't care how I'm treated. And I remember looking at her thinking, I don't believe that. I really don't believe that, even though you do. And moving forward in time, the guy was right, and he's always been right. He was just maybe 8 years in front of his time. So he had this idea, and he was almost like a pioneer in that space. He had this idea that the first time people hear it, the first time they hear it, to them it doesn't sound right. But to me, the idea wasn't brand new to me, because as a salesman, I knew that people would spend the money. Like as a barmaid, barmaiding teaches you so many great things. So serving beer and serving food teaches you so much. People come in with very little money, having a bad day, and they leave with even less, having enjoyed themselves with the plan to come back tomorrow and spend more money. So even when you have no money, you still work out how to spend it anyway. And when you're in hospitality selling food and drink, nobody gets a discount. Like you come in and the price is the price. You know, someone would come in, let's say a schooner of beer or a pint of beer, right, was $5. If somebody came in and said, I've only got $2, that's fine. I'll give you $2 worth of beer. I never wouldn't give them anything, but they wouldn't get a pint. They'd get less than half a pint because that's as much as they had. So you get $2 worth, but I'll take your cash. And they get their drink and everybody's happy. So, you know, opportunity is everywhere. So, yeah, so that's how I went from salesman then across to sales trainer. And now that's what I do now. I get to teach.
Yeah, and your story is so inspired because you said that guy inspired you to sell.
Yeah.
And as you said, that there are many people we all need in our online entrepreneurship or offline, however and whenever, we all need, and we offer our services, products. And you said, you know, there are people who don't say for them that they are not salesy person. And sometimes I tell there are people who start and offer you directly, you know, and send you message on Messenger or any kind of, you know, DM. You don't know that or this person, and they want to move you and push you to buy something from them, for that person. But only for my experience is that when I know someone and to talk with them, I know just that little get deeper inside, just to know that person and do conversation about sales and something like that.
Yeah.
But do you think that sales is in connection with emotional part? When you believe someone and when someone inspires you, as you said, that guy in that restaurant doesn't have money, but he wants to buy a little bit, and thinks how he will go and get that drink tomorrow to pay. Just he has got desire for that.
Yeah. So the money goes to the nicest person in the room. That's really where it goes. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say my eldest son, who's nearly 13, let's say he got incredibly ill and needed a new kidney, right? And so he needs a kidney transplant. And the only person in the world, I'll use you as an example, Kristina, right? But I'm going to go the opposite and pretend you're a horrible person, right? To point out my story. Let's pretend that the only person in the world that has a matchable kidney to my son is you. But I don't like you. There's something about you that just bugs me entirely, and I don't like you. Now, I've got two choices. Get the kidney from the person I don't like, or don't get the kidney. Now, it's quite a difficult decision because I don't like you and I don't believe in you. And so to take your kidney and put it into my child would mean that I'm taking a piece of you that I don't like right? And I don't want that connection to you for the rest of my life to go into my child. On the other hand, I don't want him to die, so I'm going to go with, all right, if you're the only one, I will take it. And you're happy enough to give it, but there's just something about you that is just not nice, right? So what will happen is I'll take that kidney and I'll put it into my son, and my son will get big and strong. And forever I will say this, you know what? It was really nice that she gave up her kidney. She was the only one. She didn't have to do it. She was the only one that had a match. And it was really nice that she saved my son's life. But, you know, I just wish she was a nicer person. And so when we're forced to spend money with someone who's not great in our eyes, we still end up with the thing, but we don't necessarily say great things about it, in which case it's not really on-selling the idea to somebody else, right? Whereas we can come across someone and go, wow, I mean, Kristina is the greatest person on the planet. I don't even need what she's selling, but I mean, faced with the person who, you know, who I do need, you know, like, I just don't want to give them my cash, right? If it's actually handing money over, we, general population, work so hard to make our money, right? And to have our money and to buy things that we've now become very fussy as to who gets it. It's not going to someone whom I think isn't going to look after it as hard as what I did in order to get it in the first place. So if I think you're a fairly trashy person, I'm not handing that over very easily. And the main injury that salesmen do to themselves is they don't accept no as an answer. No doesn't mean no, but no does mean not just yet. And the reason salesmen don't accept no as an answer is because traditional sales training taught the salesman that no doesn't mean no, and convert the sale now, or you, salesman, will have a problem because, you know, let's face it, you're going to have to follow up, and nobody does that. The majority of people do not follow up. So given that you're not going to follow up and you're lazy and we're not going to give you a strategy, or you're frightened to follow up, or you don't know how, right? Sell everything right now. And in the process of trying to sell everything on the spot, you end up breaking the relationship to a point where it's hard to get back. You can get it back. I mean, I've gone networking. I use, well, networking is a sales tool, right? So I've gone out networking, done all the things that they tell you not to do. Don't hand your business card out to everyone. Don't talk about yourself a lot. Listen to what everyone else says, but stay quiet. You know, wait for someone to ask for your business card. I've gone, these are crazy rules. If I wait for someone to ask for my business card, and I've been to many events, people don't even offer their own. Like, if nobody's offering cards, if everybody's following the rule, don't offer your card, wait for someone to offer theirs first. Nobody's offering a card. If everybody's standing there not talking about themselves, and then how do you get anyone to talk? Like, everyone just standing there staring at each other. So I've done the terrible things. Here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. What do you do? This is what I do. You know, like, and I'm a nightmare. Like, I have been a nightmare with the purpose of, can I upset everyone here in this room? And if I can, how fast can I do it? And then how do I get that relationship back? So I've gone to networking events, been a nightmare, right? I go up to people and say, how many cards have you collected? Okay, so the secret is to collect as many as you possibly can. So who are you speaking to? Oh, a workmate. Yeah, no, don't do that. You know, and I split people up and I send out, here, we'll swap cards first. Now you go off and collect as many as you can. Then what I do is I collect all of these cards and then I leave. And I go out to my car and I get my my best friend over here, my Bluetooth keyboard, and I sit down with my Bluetooth keyboard, my phone, and a load of business cards, right? And I sit there and I write to each person and say, it was really great networking with you tonight. Just wondering how many cards you collected. They write back to me and they say, oh my God, did you meet that crazy lady too? I was so frightened. Like, I collected 7, and I write back and I say, I am that crazy lady. 7 is a great start. They write back and say, oh my God, you're the only person that's reached out to me the entire meeting. I know. And suddenly I'm the nicest person who was ever in the room. I just wasn't in the room. Right? So turns out you can't get relationships back. but it does require, what does the salesman have to do? Follow up, follow up, follow up. So today's world, we don't have to push people to buy. We can accept no being no for right now and know that we can follow up with them. People aren't really going anywhere. So we can meet them later and ask them more questions later. Just give them a chance to settle their brain. They don't have to buy instantly. Once they're settled, they tend to talk themselves into everything all by themselves.
As you said, we have to be good listener and listen and look around and see and connect. As you said, you cannot offer, and this is my business card. This is my business card, as you said.
You can do it. You just have to plan to follow up
and ask you for business card in terms of B2B meetings or B2C or, however. And can you tell us a little bit about your classes? How it looks like? Do you work one-to-one?
Yes.
One-to-group?
So I have, my
and I know that you are that Google likes you. When someone type your name, you just blooming out. You said,
right?
And I love how you do that. So just tell us a little bit, just for our listeners who will listen to this podcast on Instagram. It's going to be on LinkedIn, on Spotify, and Google App, and just to show a little bit.
Love that I'm going to be on Instagram and I'm not. Like, I'm not. I refuse to get an Instagram account for the purpose of I can't cope with another platform.
But it's going to be on Spotify or audio, but it's going to be on for online.
No, I love it.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right. So here's the story, right? When I started networking 11 years ago and I'm out as a sales trainer, the idea was get a website. Everybody wanted a website, right? So I started with a website. I spent a whole day learning how to do it. Like, it would just mentally drain my brain. It's not my energy space, right? And then I'd do it and I'd put up a post, and my plan was to do a blog. And I'd put up a post and then I'd leave it. And the next day I'd go to do another one and I'd think, now, how did I put that up there the first time? So then I'd have to go back to Google and try and reteach myself. It would all seem so confusing. I'd get cranky with it. So I'd pay for my website, and then a year later, after I'd already dubbed it, 364 days earlier, then the account would take my money again. I'm like, that's it. I'm getting rid of that account, right? So then I'd change my credit card so I didn't get charged again. And then, a year after that, I'd come up with this bright idea of starting a website. Eventually got to the point after 5 years of going, you know what? You're not going to do the website thing. Just ditch that, because it's not going to happen. So in the meantime, I go out networking, I meet people, I collect business cards, I say hi to them, I email them, and I've got a Gmail account, right? And I email them. Now, it turns out Google likes Google. So if you do anything on a Google platform, Google's looking for it. And so along the way, I send emails to people. I have my sales signature block, so things that I sell in the bottom of my signature block, and write to people all the time. And then someone will say, can you be on a podcast? And can you be on another podcast? And so all these little things happen. And I've now got a YouTube site, and I've got like YouTube account, and I've got a Google business page. And of course, we all have Facebook and a LinkedIn. But over time, because I show up on other people's, I say I'm like Ryan Reynolds, right? So Ryan Reynolds, super famous movie star, right? He's a rock star in the movie world. Okay. And there's not a movie genre he can't do. He's everywhere. He goes to all interviews. He turns up when people don't turn up. They just call Ryan and go, Ryan, so-and-so isn't turning up for the interview tonight. Can you come and fill it? No problems. He's there. And so he rocks up. He shows up everywhere. As a result, Ryan Reynolds, if you Google Ryan Reynolds, he shows up all over Google. And yet he doesn't have a website. And yet Google considers him ultra famous, like so famous without a website, right? Well, I'm exactly the same. I've gone, well, I don't have a website, but if you Google my name, I show up all over it too, like a rock star. Like I show up like Ryan Reynolds, right? And I've put it down to this. Because we say yes to interviews, we show up on other people's platforms, we use the Google platforms, and because we don't say no, we just keep turning up. Over time, Google goes looking for these things that match. And I match, like my name matches with other, Misty Henkel, networking, sales trainer, like those things match, wearing a crown because, sales queen, these things match up. You wait you know, the more I talk about Ryan Reynolds and then match me and Ryan Reynolds on Google's going to keep looking for that. One day, Ryan Reynolds and I are going to end up interviewed somewhere or sitting somewhere on a plane together. And he's going to get us at an interview. And what about this Misty Henkel? I don't know who that is, he's going to say. Like, her name keeps showing up. You put my name in, her picture shows up next to mine. I don't know how this is happening. I thought, no, because I'm testing it out, right? So you can, it takes time, but you can, like, yeah, so I've gotten known like Ryan Reynolds. So I like to have fun. People say, I'm going to, what's your website? Because I'm going to Google you. So, well, I don't have a website, but you can Google me.
Yeah, just
Google
Misty Henkel and sales trainer.
Yeah. My kids say it. They say to, like, we moved to Chinchilla, so here in Queensland. We moved here a year and a half ago. Prior to that, they used to say to the kids at their last school, they'd say, you should Google my mum. Google knows who my mum is. Like, according to Google, my mum is famous. And I've gone, well, I've got a YouTube. So these kids will say, oh, Misty, you've like written a, Google says you've written a book. Yes, I have. Google says you've written 2 books. Yes, I have. Google says you've got a YouTube channel. Yes, I do. Aren't you a YouTuber? And so the kids here in town, like of this new place that we've moved to a year ago, my boys will say, you know, you should Google my mum. Google knows who my mum is. I said, yeah, I'm famous. Like, I'm really famous. And they're like, no, Missy, you can't be, because, you know, the kids on the street, like, we walk the dog with you and we talk to you. And, no, I'm really famous. They say, you've got a YouTube channel. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm a famous YouTuber. My boys say, you know, you're not. You've only got 148 subscribers. And I've gone, yeah, but Google thinks that I'm famous. So clearly, I'm like a famous YouTuber.
It looks like you're one of the most famous person in the world as a sales trainer, you know. So, and you take classes.
I posted a video of our 2 golden retrievers play fighting the other day. They got 770 views. I've never had a sales video get that many. They got 770 views in less than 5 days. So I don't even advertise it. And I've just gone, how do they get 770 views on only a 148 subscriber channel? Like,
and just imagine with your image, with your crown on your head, you know. This is such amazing, you know. And on your networking
that's the trademark, right?
Yes, it's business at breakfast, which you run as well. And
yes. So business at breakfast, I fell into business at breakfast. I'd been networking for a long time in Canberra, and I was in a B&I chapter, and there was 5 chapters in Canberra. And some of them started to get low in numbers. So 3 of them folded and 2 were left. And the ones that folded, they thought, well, I still want to network, and I do like the B&I idea. So they decided to start their own like B&I, but without the B&I payments. But it was following the same rules. And this happens, everybody does that. They join B&I, and those who can't do B&I say, well, I could do it without charging any money, and we could do all this for free. They then start their own group with the B&I rules, and then wonder, why is it that nobody's turning up to the event? So what had happened was, I had been at B&I for 3.5 years, and then Simon decided he was going back to work, and I had to stay home and look after the boys. The boys are little, like 2 and 3 so. Oh no, 5 and 4. And so I couldn't have my mornings anymore because Simon was back at work. So I had to retire for a period of time from B&I. And because if you don't turn up every week, well, you actually pay to turn up every week. I mean, that's how it is. You know, you're actually paying for an advertising spot. If you're not going to be there, well, you don't need to be there, right? So you're either turning up to B&I to advertise yourself, or you can advertise yourself somewhere else. But B&I is all about advertising. And so anyhow, 6 months later, I negotiated my morning back, and I went to go back to B&I. And then I had this other group of displaced B&Iers who said, hey, Misty, before you go back, could you just come over here and teach us how to grow the group? Because we know that you're really good at growing groups. So teach us how to grow the group, and then go back to B&I. So that was in 2016. I went across to Business at Breakfast, and in the process of teaching them how to grow, well, I fell in love with the group and then never left. And so now I'm the longest standing volunteer. All of those original ones, they're gone. And so I'm the longest standing volunteer. So it was face to face. COVID hit, it went online, which I disagreed with. But turns out COVID was around longer than I thought it would be. And I didn't think this online thing would really take off. So then as I got used to doing the whole online thing, because I'm like, I don't want to be online. I want to be literally in the world. I'd rather be in America than be online to America. But of course, COVID and Zoom opened it up to platform from all over the world. So, hey, I'll still travel at a second's notice if someone wants me to. But, you know, you get to access a lot of people online. And so as a result, those in Canberra, where Business at Breakfast started, once they were allowed back out, they tried to bring back the face-to-face. Well, they went to do the face-to-face Business at Breakfast with the refusal to, well, they didn't, well, not refusal as such, but they didn't send out the invitations or the reminders as hard as what I used to. And so they didn't really resurrect that face-to-face like they did. But I lost all the Canberrans from majority of the Canberrans from the online one. But I had so many people from all over the world and from other places that I've never been able to leave the online group. And so here we are, 2023.
And this is really
later.
really amazing. And before we ramp up our call today, tell us a little bit how people can join, how people can connect to you on Facebook. Just that.
Yeah. So I'm really easy to find. So no website, but just Google Misty Henkel sales training, Misty Henkel networking. Any of those things are going to show up. I'm the only Misty Henkel in the world, I believe. But I'm wearing a crown. I'm the only one that's wearing a crown. So if you find another Misty Henkel, that's great. But I'm wearing a crown. So I'm easy to find on Facebook and LinkedIn because I've got a crown on. Henkel. So Misty, M-I-S-T-Y. Henkel, H-E-N for Nelly, K-E-L. Right? That's what you're looking for on Google, but easily found on Facebook. If you friend me, then go to Messenger and say, I just heard you on Kristina's podcast and I've just joined as friends. So now I know how we've met each other as such. So met loosely termed, right? I have a YouTube channel, so Misty Henkel, Misty Henkel. And so it's got all my contact details. My email address is mistyhenkel@gmail.com. So super easy. I answer emails, I answer the phone. I'm one of these weird people who literally is available to answer the phone and talk to people. I help many, but I still answer the phone. I'm not like Pink yet. I'm not like got that many people who buy 50 sell out a football stadium overnight. So I can answer the phone and I can talk to people. And so group sales classes. I've got a lot of information on my Google business page, my YouTube.
And you can also join to Business and Breakfast Network Group, which is on Thursday 7 a.m. AST. Canberra, Melbourne time, and 10 a.m. Thursday. Every single Thursday is networking, business and breakfast.
In Australia, correct, Kristina.
Where are people from all around the globe?
Yeah.
Misty, its time goes, and I think that it was such a really time talking to you today. I would love to ask you, but I think that we will have the other podcast very soon. So thank you so much for being my special guest speaker today, and I'm super, super excited with that.
This is great. Thank you so much for having me, Kristina.
Thank you so much, and it was such a pleasure talking to you. Have a great day, and see you very soon. And bye for now. Goodbye.
Bye. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.